Have you ever wondered if you should do cold calls as a real estate wholesaler? This is going to be the only ever video you're going to need to watch to make that decision for yourself. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. As some of you may have known, I actually didn't do any cold calling when I started real estate wholesaling. To be honest with you, I was really bad at it and I didn't feel like doing cold calling. You might ask me like, then Ralph, why are you teaching this on your YouTube channel? Well, because since then I have hired 4 full-time virtual assistants and 3 of them do cold calling, and I've been able to understand how cold calling works and what's the best thing to do for you to be successful at it. So the questions we're gonna answer today is that, does it work? Who to call? How much do you need to call before getting your first lead or maybe even the deal? How you can call for free or paid, and what is the difference between calling free or paid? What to say to sellers? What are the calling scripts? What are the best scripts that are out there? I actually will give you guys my scripts that I use, so check out the link down below. At the end of the video, I'll talk about them a little more. How does cold calling compare to other marketing platforms like texting? What are some of the rebuttals that sellers might have? And I do have a PDF for that as well. And what time of the day is the best time to cold call? Those are going to be the main things we're going to talk about in this video, so stick around till the end. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. So does cold calling work? Yes, absolutely it does. I have, like I said, 4 full-time VAs, 3 of them do cold calling only, and 1 of them is a manager / she also does texting. So if cold calling didn't work, I would not hire a full-time 3 virtual assistants to do cold calling. So it definitely works. But even though, to be honest with you, government has been trying, or like not government itself, I guess it's the data providers, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, all those people have tried to limit marketing. And I understand what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. I understand that they're trying to limit marketing to their customers because they want to make sure their customers are happy. So I do understand that. But obviously we as wholesalers, we're not telemarketers. We're not selling anything to the sellers. We're actually trying to buy properties from them. So it's a little bit of a different situation. But over the years where AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, when they came up with certain things to make sure that you can't cold call or it's harder for you to cold call, we as a wholesaling groups in general, and as an industry, have found ways to go around it very legally and very correctly. And not only us, but also the dialers themselves. Those are big businesses that have set up and that they want to make sure that they are still in business. So they make ways and they find ways to go legally around it and make sure that you can still cold call. So in my opinion, cold calling isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Next question is who to call. Obviously, this is a very broad question, and you would say like, oh, well, who to call? Of course you're gonna call the sellers. Yeah, of course you're gonna call the sellers. But what I say who to call is that, like, what kind of property should you be calling? This is also a very subjective question because you could be calling all kinds of properties. You could start it from anywhere from like piece of land that's worth $2,000 and to call apartment complexes that's worth millions of dollars. You could cold call anyone, but the question is, who will it work with better? And so what I've noticed is that with the lower end properties is where cold calling works better. And I cannot give you a number when I say lower end properties because, for example, what is a lower end property for California and what it is for Alabama is going to be completely 2 different things. So you have to know what's a lower end property in your area is, and most of the time cold calling does really work. But when you get in very high end properties, they probably get a lot of cold calls. There are people that are very busy most of the time and don't really want to talk. And to be honest with you, yes, you can still get deals. I'm not saying that's impossible, but at that point, mailers could be a better option and you have to be very creative. And a lot of time, luxury real estate are more difficult to wholesale than it is cheaper real estate, even though it is still possible, don't get me wrong. So the way I do it is that I concentrate all the way from the bottom of the cheapest properties to about middle of what my market is, and I do cold call all of those. When it comes to higher end properties, we do cold calling sometimes too, but we really have not seen a lot of result from that. Now comes question number 3. How much do you have to call before you get your first lead or deal? Obviously, I cannot tell you how many deals you will get because deals are not just how you cold call, it's also what are your closing skills, what are your selling skills, and you have to improve those yourself. So it's not dependent on what the numbers are, it's dependent on what you can do with those numbers. But on average, so my assistants, they call about 500 to 600 numbers a day because they use a dialer, so they can call that many numbers a day. And each one of them gets about, I want to say about 5 leads a day on average. So that's about 1% of the phone numbers you're going to call may turn into a lead. This could vary because if you have better cold calling skills and you're really good on the phone, you may be able to convert a little more. But you have to look at it in general. 1 to 2% is a very realistic number of the people you're gonna call to be able to convert them into a lead. And what lead means is that it's someone that may be even interested in selling and they have kind of a realistic price. A lot of sellers don't have realistic prices, but that's okay because that's where you come in and try to provide value, and so they may be able to sell it for a little less. I did just mention the callers, so we're gonna talk about that. What's the difference between cold calling for free or paid cold calling? The difference is crazy. You can cold call for free, of course, but when you're cold calling for free, you're calling one number at a time. You have to type in the number, write it down, and it's okay. You know, when you start off, if that might be what you're doing, absolutely fine. But when you have the money, when you make your first deal, or if you get money some from your 9-to-5 job or whatever, invest into a dialer. If you're cold calling, definitely invest into a dialer. There are many options out there. I've actually made a video comparing different dialers. I'm gonna leave the link to that video down below. You know, Mojo Dialer, Cold Tools, Zenco, which is Ready Mode right now. I've used all three of those. Right now we are at Ready Mode, which used to be called Zenco. I found that to be the best one for me. It is a little bit more expensive than the other ones, but with me having 3 employees that are calling plus my account, which is a manager account, it actually made sense to do that one. If you guys want to check out Zenco for a little bit of a better price, actually comment down below. They did email me telling me that if I refer someone to them, they will be able to give you a better price for signing up, which is pretty cool because I wasn't even looking to refer anyone to them. I just was talking about them because I like them, and they said, hey, if you refer anyone to us, they will get a discount. So if you are interested, leave a comment down below. Another question that I've mentioned at the beginning of the video is that what to say to sellers. And this is where obviously scripts come into place. There's a lot of different scripts out there. A lot of different people on YouTube teach their own scripts and stuff like that. I found what works best for me, and I'm going to provide that script to you for free. If you want to check it out, it's going to be in the description of the video. Check it out. There's going to be a link to that. So the reason why I did the script the way it is that because it really makes sense for me to have that script. I've used many different scripts since I started, and my VAs have tried different ones, and I track all the numbers and I can tell which scripts convert better. And the scripts that I found that convert better are shorter, to the point, not wasting anyone's time. So I provided that down below if you guys want to check it out. So how does cold calling compare to other marketing ways, which is, for example, we're going to compare it to texting. So cold calling is a little bit more time consuming. And if you're just by yourself and you work a 9-to-5 job and all that stuff, cold calling may be a good option for you, maybe on the weekend if you have the time. But if you're working Monday through Friday, 9-to-5, maybe texting is the way to go. But if you're trying to scale, cold calling is going to be a big part of it. Cold calling is not going away. It's still here. So even though I talk about texting and I talk about cold calling, all those marketing platforms, they have their own place in this business, and cold calling definitely does its own. So in my opinion, texting is really good, and I absolutely love doing it, and that's how I started. That's how I closed on my first probably 15 deals was through texting before I even hired my first virtual assistant, which I could have done a little bit sooner now looking back at it. So if you have an opportunity, you probably should hire your first virtual assistant a little bit earlier. But I've learned a lot during that time, and I've learned a lot about texting. I've learned a lot about wholesaling and all that stuff. So if you're starting off and it's just you and you don't have a lot of time, texting might be the way to go. If you do have a little more time to spare, try cold calling. It might work for you as well. And absolutely get a dialer. That's my biggest suggestion. Get a dialer. Invest that $100 to $150 a month. It is absolutely worth it. Another thing is that how do you rebuttal the sellers? I've made a separate video about it, so if you want to check it out, I'm also going to leave in the description down below. It's a separate video talking about rebuttals, what to say to complicated sellers. It's a whole video on its own, so if you want to check it out, it's going to be in the description. And the last question that I want to answer is that what are the hours you should be cold calling? And that's a very good question because I've thought about that myself when I started. I said, I feel like during this hours we get the better response rate, but during this hours it's not the best. And this is what I found. You are going to get more people respond to the phone call before 9 a.m. sometimes, anywhere between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. But in my opinion, it's a little too early. A good time, in my opinion, as well, is also lunchtime. So, people take lunch at different times. Some start at 10:30, 11, 12, depends. My assistant, their schedule is they work from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. And there's a reason for that. So between 10 a.m. and 1 o'clock, we get decent amount of response on the phone call. But then after that, we also want to make sure we catch people after work. Some people get off work at 3:30, 4, 4:35, so you got until 6 p.m. to get a hold of them. You don't want to talk to people too late because they may be having a dinner with their family, they may be spending their time, and a lot of times they don't want to talk to you that late in the day. But when they're just coming up from work, yeah, they may be a little bit tired, but they're still kind of in that work mode, so there you have a little bit better chance to talking to them. So to sum it up, between 10 and 1 o'clock I found to be pretty good, and in anywhere between 3:30, 4 o'clock, and 6 o'clock I found to be pretty good as well. That's why my system worked from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Alright guys, well I really hope I answered most of your questions here. If you do have any other question, leave them in the comments down below. I am answering all my comments at all times. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you did enjoy the content of this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I try to drop any kind of information, any kind of knowledge I have on this channel at all times. But as always guys, peace.